welcome to NTA Nationwide. I am Elizabeth Bano. Thank you for joining us. 3 suspected suicide bombers have been killed after one of them detonated an explosive device by a stationed fuel tanker early this Thursday morning along Damboa Road, Maiduguri. Reports reaching us from the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA Northeast Office, says 2 other fuel tankers were also burnt as a result of the explosion. The fire has been brought under control and casualties have been evacuated. We'll bring you details in the course of the bulletin. Religious and ethnic sentiments, as well as godfatherism, have been described as the bane of corruption in Nigeria that should be tackled headlong in order to restore unity and grow the nation. These were some of the submissions by contributors at the closing ceremony of the National Dialogue on Corruption.
What you preach every Sunday or on Friday is a message that ordinarily should be inspired from God. And when we begin to blackmail leaders to do things that suits us in the name of religion, I feel that is part of elite manipulation of religious and ethnicity.
The elites today have capitalized on us because we are poor. The poverty has already eaten us. What I'm saying is we need to fight our mind.
The dialogue afforded some youths the opportunity to deliberate on issues affecting their participation in nation building. The Supreme Court has dismissed an appeal against the election of Niger State Governor Sani Bello. In a unanimous judgment delivered Friday morning, the Apex Court said the appellant lacked the locus to file the action. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okeo has details.
In March 2015, one Alhaji Mustafa Wushishi, a card-carrying member of the All Progressive Congress in Niger State, went to the Federal High Court in Minna to challenge the APC governorship primaries of Niger State. His grounds? That he was excluded from the primaries. The Federal High Court told him that, having not been part of the primaries, he lacked the locus to challenge the exercise. The same was said to him at the Court of Appeal. And now, at the Supreme Court, the panel of justices, led by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onogen, reminded the appellant that it has been severally pronounced by the court that, in line with the provisions of the Electoral Act, being a card-carrying member of a party did not qualify him to challenge a primary he did not participate in.
As lawyers, we must advise our clients after reading judgments of the highest court of the land. We must advise our client. It is not the money, but your name is the most important thing.
This is what we're digging to see, whether the Supreme Court will depart from its earlier decisions in line with Section 87 of the Electoral Act.
More so that he, Alhaji Mustafa Wushishi, did not join the eventual winner of the primary in the action.
The second principle of law contained in the judgment has to do with joining parties to an action. Somebody who will be adversely affected by the outcome of a judgment should ordinarily be joined.
For us is to go back and continue the work of governance as we've been doing, and that's all. So as a government, we are very happy.
People may be surprised that governorship elections are still being determined by courts. The reason is that this particular case is not an election petition matter, which has time limits stipulated by the Constitution and the Electoral Act. This is a pre-election matter, which has no such time limit. However, with this determination, everything has now been concluded about the governorship election in Niger State. From the Supreme Court, Femi Okeo, NTA News.
The Nigeria police has made another breakthrough in the fight against kidnapping and other criminal acts with the killing of Henry Chibueze, also known as Vampire, a notorious kidnapping kingpin who recently escaped from the custody of prison wardens in a court in Owerri, Imo State. The police spokesperson, Juma Moshood, says Vampire was killed early hours of Thursday in Omwawa Forest in Ikwere local government area of Rivers State during a gun battle with police special forces. 5 members of the gang, Obinna, Ella, Arinze, Abechata, Chuku Ebuka, Ikeaz Zota, Samuel Ugochukwu, and Clifford Ahena, were arrested and are now in police custody.
Chiboze, aka Vampire, have been a terror in this state and the neighboring state around this period in time. The IGP concerned by this deployed the special forces to track him down and ensure that all kidnappers are rounded up and prosecuted.
The gang is alleged to be responsible for many kidnap and armed robbery attacks in Imo, Abia, Rivers, Delta, and other South and Niger Delta states. The arrested suspects will be charged to court after further investigations. No nation can attain technological advancement if the political elites fail to recognize and prioritize technical education, technology training, skills development, and science engineering. Executive Vice Chairman of the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, Professor Sani Haruna, made the assertion while addressing graduates of Skills Enhancement Foundation. Science correspondent Kirian Umayo reports.
The foundation, initiated by wife of the governor of Nasarawa State, partners with NASENI for the training of indigenes of the state in technical competencies in crafts and skills to produce domestic science and engineering products. He noted that absence of skilled manpower has continued to cost the nation billions of naira in capital flight paid to foreign experts.
The most important component, skills acquisition and training of professionals and technical skills acquisition for the production of modern science-based technologies.
The skills gaps have been identified as constraint to socio-economic development, delimiting the ability of Nigerians to get jobs. Some of the graduates had this to say.
Before, I was not be able to operate computer because I came here I learned computer here. So before I was not be able to operate computer. I don't know anything about computer. But since I got here, at least now, I'm able to do many things with computer.
Before I reached, I didn't have any business to do this. As of now, I learned hairdressing and they give me all the hairdress, the equipment.
The challenge Nigeria has now, experts believe, is lack of capacity to produce technicians, bricklayers, vulcanizers, welders, and other allied technical workers. In Abuja, Kirian Umayo, NTA News.
Apart from certified charges by the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, and any other levies collected from schools are illegal and punishable by law. This was the submission of the Senate Committee on FCT, who had before it FCT Minister, the Chairman of the FIRS, and the National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools, FCT Chapter. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye reports.
The 3 certified charges are a guideline booklet of establishing and operating a school costing 5,000 naira, as well as a 35,000 naira application form paid to the revenue account of the FCTA. Annual charges such as taxes ranging from 100,000 naira to 135,000 naira are also paid depending on school fees charged.
Accreditation is for a period of 4 years because we believe that accreditation should actually be a function of quality assurance.
Because of what we contribute to education and to economy itself, we should be giving grants.
I don't want an institution where you give in one level of accreditation and you discover that you are not having some good service.
Once a judgment is given, it must be respected. This government particularly is about the rule of law.
The committee also stressed on the importance of quality assurance to check the spate of closures of substandard schools. It also found in favor of complainants in a case of illegal demolition, emphasizing that this present government and the Senate will protect the rights of citizens. Meanwhile, the House Committee on Poverty Alleviation has heard from the Special Advisor to the President on Social Protection, Mariam Uwais, on 2016 budget performance by relevant agencies and projections for 2017.
There are other things you can explain to the committee. But you need to know that this committee consists of about 30 members.
The issues of cash transfer, when we looked at what happened in the past, we're actually working with the World Bank. The World Bank is supporting us.
Funding is expected to be reviewed upward to enable speedy implementation of poverty alleviation programs. From the National Assembly, Dennis Adegunloye, NTA News.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo attends police training. This and more as we go over to Lagos with Abdullahi. Abdullahi.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us in Lagos. The need for training and retraining of men and officers of the Nigerian police has been emphasized. Nigeria's former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo made the emphasis at the first biennial Special Training and Capacity Development Seminar held in Lagos. Abiola Oni reports.
Former President of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, said the importance of consistent training of security personnel cannot be overemphasized. He said this is a way to meet up with the international standard of security in the country. He called on the officers to take advantage of the program to improve themselves.
You, by virtue of your job, you must be aware and you must be in touch with whatever is new development in terms of your job, your responsibility, and what is the most up-to-date in other countries.
The Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, called on police officers to take advantage of the training to improve their professionalism for effective and proficient security service delivery.
By all heads and CPs in charge of formation and commands in those parts of the country, in their efforts to key into core values for improved service delivery to members of the Nigerian police force.
With the team towards more professional and proficient police service delivery, the Nigerian police hope to dish out better services to the public. In Lagos, Abiola Oni, NTA News.
In line with the acting president's directive on easing maritime trade, the Nigeria Shippers Council is collaborating with the Nigeria Maritime Law Association for effective port operations. This synergy, the Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Shippers Council says, will revive maritime laws in the sector.
Introduction of Admiralty law in universities, diversion of cargoes, training of legislators on maritime laws, and preparations for the 15th International Maritime Seminar for Judges were some of the issues raised at the meeting. With keen emphasis on the introduction of maritime laws in universities, the Executive Secretary of the Council explained that this will help curb illegal activities in the maritime domain and also acquaint the younger generations with the basics of maritime policies.
We'll be able to identify the gaps, in legal regimes, and they are quite a handful, so that we can reposition our ports to efficiency. This could be backed by legislations or by executive fiat, but the most important thing is the ease of doing business is paramount in this administration.
President of the Nigerian Maritime Law Association, Chidi Ilogo, while commending the efforts of the Shippers Council in delivering its mandate towards the growth of the nation's economy, hinted that it is crucial to equip legislators on maritime laws.
Position papers have to be presented, the issues have to be debated at the National Assembly, and more often than not, the National Assembly would need to be guided on the parameters those laws are meant to cover. And as much as possible, the association is ready to provide the necessary legal support.
The Executive Secretary of the Shippers Council also used the opportunity to call on players in the industry to work with relevant government agencies to make the nation's maritime domain a competitive one in the global scene.
Honesty and patriotism have been described as veritable tools in nation building. This was the crux of a lecture organized by a non-governmental education promoter in Lagos. Rotimi Olagbemi reports.
Students from various schools gathered to acquire more knowledge on the need for them to have confidence in their country. With the theme, Choose Nigeria, various speakers enjoined the students to have a positive mindset about the nation. They encouraged them to love their country and be committed to their studies.
We have to respect our laws, and indeed, we have to make sure that we remain on integrity of our nation.
We have a vibrant, very vibrant young population. We have a nation that drives and can drive what this world needs to hear about the black race.
Convener of the event, Ika Ogundi, daughter of late theatre icon Hubert Ogundi, spoke on the motive behind the program.
We want them to choose to love Nigeria, choose to reform Nigeria, and choose to seek ways of doing better things in this nation.
It's a very effective tool to reaching our children and help mold them to truly be the future of our nation.
Some participants comment.
This is just a breakthrough for me in choosing my country as a first choice.
This program is teaching me to help me love Nigeria. Instead of looking for problems, I look for solutions.
We actually impact our lives positively, the love for our country positively, change our perspective.
The seminar featured performances by participating students. This year's edition is the 11th since the inception in 2006. In Lagos, NTA News.
The need to reorder and reform sports development in the country was the crux of the much-anticipated live talk show program on the network service of the NTA tagged Sports Parliament. Adiola Mokivia reports on the program, which premiered Thursday night in Lagos.
The new program is aimed at setting the agenda for sports development in Nigeria. 12 persons from different disciplines will be proffering solutions to the divergent problems facing sports development in the country. Speaker of the Parliament is Nigerian ex-international and veteran sports administrator Segun Odegbami.
Nelson Mandela said on the eve of the 2010 World Cup that with sports you can actually change the world. In Nigeria we don't believe it, we don't practice it. But on this program we are going to show you, we are going to tell you why you should start to believe it and live it and practice it.
The pilot edition had the parliamentarians giving their views on how to reposition the various areas of sports development in the country in the two segments of the program.
How can sports deliver return of investment to attract the kind of money required to take it to the next level?
Today you ask, why do you approve a school in a flat complex without a football field?
The National Sports Festival has been postponed, only God knows for how many times. Only recently I hear the sports minister has stated that it is only the National Council of Sport that will make a pronouncement on that. We are deluding ourselves.
The program entails a quiz segment, Mastermind, to test the knowledge of viewers in sports, and verdicts to represent the collective opinions of the panelists. Subsequent editions of the program will engage viewers via the various social media platforms. Sports Parliament comes on every Thursday from 11 p.m. to 12 midnight on Africa's largest TV network, the NTA.
The years have it.
In Lagos, Adeola Omokive, NTA News.
And that reports end the news. From here, it's back to Abuja, more stories. Over to...
Thank you, Abdullahi. Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, says the Nigerian Air Force is committed towards human capacity development through robust-oriented training for enhanced professional performance of its personnel. He stated this at the Nigerian Air Force Super Mushahak Instructor Pilot Conversion of some airmen and women in Kaduna. Ahmed Mohammed Usman reports.
Pakistan Air Force had sometime last year signed a deal with Nigerian Air Force for improved capacity in air defense that covers operational training and technical support on Super Mushak aircraft now in the arsenal of the force. Super Mushak is an advanced, upgraded primary trainer aircraft introduced to Nigerian Air Force 3 months ago to boost the capacity of fighter pilots in their operations. These 4 Nigerian pilots are now well trained on how to operate this latest and modern aircraft and will be training other pilots as 18 pilot officers are already selected to undergo the training process. Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar is chief of the air staff.
For them to have been able to achieve this feat in about 2 months or thereabout
clearly shows that a lot of work, a lot of planning, a lot of commitment must have gone into this for us to be able to witness this. So we thank God that at the end of it all, at least we have 4 qualified instructors now, with the 4 from Pakistan, meaning we have 8 instructor pilots in this flying school, and that, I believe, should add value to what we already have.
Away from that, the Air Chief, together with other top officers, inaugurated Air Force Research Development Center and 1,200-bed cadets students hostel, among others. In Kaduna, Hamad Muhammad Usman, NTA News.
And in view of the nation's dwindling economy, the National Defense College has commenced research to provide alternative sources of funding the Nigerian Armed Forces. The commandant of the college said this at a lecture for course 25 participants of the National Defense College. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has details.
The 3 lectures delivered by the service chiefs are geared towards impacting knowledge and develop skills of selected military and civilian officers to ensure a firm understanding of the essential factors that impact on national security.
This college has been tasked to research into alternative funding for the Nigerian Armed Forces.
In his lecture titled Nigerian Army, Challenges and Future Perspectives, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, noted that inadequate budgetary provision accounts for the inadequate logistics and weapons, which tends to slow the tempo of most operations. To address arising challenges, the Army, he said, established the Nigerian Army Resource Center. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, in his lecture on the future of the Nigerian Air Force, explained that the Air Force doctrine is contained in operational concept of active defense forward engagement. The vision of the force, he said, is to be repositioned into a highly professional force for effective and efficient timely employment of air power in response to national security. While noting that the Nigerian Navy was barely equipped when it was called to action during the Civil War in 1967, the formation made considerable contribution to the prosecution of the war. This was explained by the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibok Ite Ebas, represented by Chief of Policy and Plans Rear Admiral Jacob Ajani, who noted that the nation's vast maritime space has made the available ships and helicopters inadequate.
The Controller General, Federal Fire Service, Joseph Anebi, says the organization awaits trucks ordered from overseas and has not given the contract to any private firm, as been speculated on social media. Mr. Anebi gave the clarification at a media briefing in Abuja, as well as plans to curtail frequent fire outbreaks across the country. Edina Justice has details.
To fire experts, all fires are not the same, but they all have the same characteristics. Start small. So knowing what to do could stop fire disasters. This, the Controller General Federal Fire Service says it is part of their duty to educate, inform, and enlighten the public on fire disaster prevention. On the 2016 budget performance, he said, though Naira depreciated, they had 63% budget release, money which, he said, was put into proper use.
The expected fire trucks will soon arrive the country, and some of them will be deployed Federal Fire Service zonal commands to complement the state fire services. There is no basis for speculation of giving the contract to a private firm in Jos. Always have to cross-check the facts before sending stories online.
He pointed out that the organization is not recruiting and warned the public not to pay any money for recruitment forms.
Some people form a fake website and collecting money from people.
On plan to curtail frequent fire outbreak in markets, the Controller General said they are in talk with Market Association to build fire stations so as to stem the tide. From Federal Fire Office, Gerki, Abuja, Edina Justice, NTA News.
You can watch this news live online via the NTA mobile app, which you can download on your Android device at the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. You're watching Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We'll now take a break to bring you some messages. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Change does not just happen. You and I, and all of us, must appreciate that we all have our part to play if we want to bring change about. We must change our lawless habits, our attitude to public office, and public trust. We must change our unruly behavior in schools, hospitals, marketplaces, motor parks, on the roads, in homes and offices. To bring about change, we must change ourselves by being law-abiding citizens.
Don't allow this thing to disgrace me.
It started with a race over nothing and something. Soon, the race became an issue. But what issue is an issue when the reason for the issue is not an issue?
People just they run for time. I don't know what they pursue them. Why would they run now? Somebody tell me, why should I run?
Join us in 100 meters this week on Professor John Bull. Another refreshing episode of your rib-cracking comedy and social satire.
Hello there. Again.
Showing at 8:30 p.m. every Tuesday and Friday on NTA Network International and Star Times.
Are you people safe? Yeah.
Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
Welcome to the new speed of life. Do you crave class? Do you have taste? And do you care about comfort? If you do, then for your next event, a stay away from home, a business trip, or a holiday, visit Jade's Hotel at 24 Undola Crescent, Wuse Zone 5, Abuja. Check out our world-class services, exquisite suites, restaurant and bar, gymnasium, spa and grills, and our outdoor catering services and cuisines. At Jade's, it can only be better. For bookings and reservations, visit us today at 24 Undola Crescent, Wuse Zone 5, Abuja, or visit www.jadeshotels.com. Our email address is info@jadeshotels.com. You can also call us on 09291-9321 or 0810-909-7956. Jade's Hotels. Welcome to life.
Remi Abera is no ordinary woman. She's an angel to the millions of people who have been displaced and are living in substandard camps throughout Nigeria. We catch up with Remi to find out how her summit attempt went. And you never know when tragedy could strike.
We were four in the car. I think he must have got scared or something. And that's all I could remember.
It's finally here, the most anticipated sports show on live television, featuring great sports icons from ex-internationals to famed journalists and administrators. It doesn't come bigger than the Sports Parliament, which premieres live on the NTA network this Thursday from 11 p.m. till 12 midnight. Be a part of the biggest sports talk show on television to help chart a successful path for Nigerian sports. 11 p.m. to midnight on Thursday on the NTA. Sports Parliament, where the eggheads converge.
The attention of the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, has once again been drawn to the nefarious activities of some criminal elements in the society who have devised yet another devilish method of defrauding unsuspecting members of the public by impersonating the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Engineer Babachir David Lawal. They seek monetary gratifications from their victims who, as usual, they are sure of employment in the public service or outright political appointments. Department of State Services, DSS, and other security agencies have been informed and are working assiduously to curb the occurrence of this ugly phenomenon. Some culprits have indeed been apprehended. For the avoidance of doubt, some of the numbers they used are as follows. Members of the public are therefore hereby advised to be aware of fraudulent callers impersonating the SGF and indeed other top government functionaries. The general public are once again reminded that the federal government of Nigeria has established verifiable channels of communicating with individuals, groups, and organizations. If in doubt, contact the press unit, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Shehu Shagari Complex, Abuja, for clarifications on all matters of public concern. Bolaji Adebiyi, announcer.
Thank you for staying with us on NTA Nationwide. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo reiterates his position that the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is dead as a political party. He explained that the party started collapsing when Dr. Ahmadu Ali left as its national chairman and when he also left as a member. Obasanjo was speaking in Abeokuta, Ogun State, at the event organized by the Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization, CBAC, to mark his 80th birthday anniversary. A conducive business environment laced with the right policies are critical if ease is to be brought into how business is conducted in Nigeria. With the current multiple taxation system in place, guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria say it is high time Nigeria begins to simplify business processes if the narrative of a harsh business environment is to be changed. Aisha Ubali reports.
These are different discussions have identified inhibiting factors that have impacted negatively on the ease of doing business in Nigeria. Many at times, these have tolled the bell on the early demise of many businesses. Speakers on the program said the need for a paradigm shift in the ease of doing business is imperative. As a critical starting point, they want a reorientation on the business processes, transparency, and discipline in doing business.
So a laxity in regulations, environmental issues and safety issues that one has to keep in mind, that each state will be competing with each other.
By the time we are able to create the credit bureau, by the time we make it easier for you to access credit through warehouse receipts or movable assets, we hope that that should encourage most of the operators in the informal economy to get formal, then broaden the tax base.
Creating a wider pool for access to funds, business-friendly government policies, legislations, support for private sector, security and good road networks, they add, will assist in making business easy to do rather than frustrating both domestic and private investors.
It is true that there is no uniform format for preparing taxes for small-scale businesses. This has to be developed in conjunction with professionals such that businesses will be encouraged to keep books of accounts, proper books of accounts, see in a simplified manner.
The hurdles we have to go through, in delivering locally too, is another menace, in the sense that, even in FCT, you have to have maybe your pickups or your trucks have those registrations which are meant to, deter you from moving from point A to B.
The overall consensus on the program is that key sectors must understand their roles and work harder at driving the much-needed economic growth. In Abuja, Aisha Ubali, NTA News.
The Buhari administration is committed to solving the housing needs of Nigerians with an elaborate housing policy that will benefit every state. Minister of State for Power, Works and Housing, Mustafa Babashehuri, stated this while inaugurating the first phase of 240 housing units developed by the federal government and Ebonyi State Housing Development Agency at Izangbo in Ohaoku Council area. Charles Igbamalu reports.
The federal government reinvigorated the national housing program to meet the housing needs of Nigerians under a new national housing fund. He said the target of the new national housing policy are civil servants, the poor who cannot afford shelter, and Nigerians in the private sector. Alhaji Mustafa Baba Shehuri said the new national housing program accommodates the interest of all and urged those in the private sector to contribute as well as benefit from the National Housing Fund. Also speaking on the occasion, Ebonyi State Governor Chief David Umahi said 240 Amike Ijian housing estate project, of which 72 housing units are being commissioned under the first phase. According to him, the completed 72 housing units have been allocated to civil servants. He promised that water and electricity would soon be provided at the housing estate.
The ministry's plan to construct mass housing units in every state of the Federation for public workers and other interested individuals.
This is one of the mandates of every responsible government to provide affordable accommodation to our citizenry, especially the civil to public servants.
Some of the beneficiaries of the housing project speak.
And the way he did the thing is the thing that impressed me most. This one is not who you know. You just apply balloting. If you pick, you're going there.
On your office now and the high cost of building, I think it's a very good thing that a civil servant should have something like this.
The high point of the ceremony was the cutting of tape by the minister to inaugurate the 422 million naira housing estate. In Abakaliki, Charles Ibuamalo, NTA News.
And the first phase of 5,000 housing units for the internally displaced persons of Bakassi local government area in Cross River State has been flagged off. The project, tagged New City in Remote Place for the Less Privileged, is constructed under the Social Housing Scheme. Udwak Etin completes the report.
The project, which is a collaboration between the state government and the African Nations Development Program, is to construct 5,000 two-bedroom houses, a school, market, hospital, among other facilities. Speaking at the site for the housing unit in Ikbankaya village, Ikoreyo ward in Akpaboyo local government area of Cross River State, the governor noted that the actualization of the project is as a result of an open whipping before international organizations and institutions to come together to make life meaningful for the displaced people of Bakassi. He stressed the need to support the Bakassi displaced people to have access to good accommodation for a healthy living.
Let us love one another. Let us sustain this peace because the whole world is watching. We are not the only internally displaced people in Nigeria, but I think we are the only people who have been neglected. And so we must rally around each other and hold ourselves. This is a time to put an end to any internal crisis, to make sure that we work as a team, remain strong and united, so that we can be focused and drive this agenda.
Representative of the displaced people of Bakassi and that of host community lauded the state government for the initiative, which they described as a key to sustainable growth.
To the people whose houses will be pulled down, firstly affected by the project.
The governor announced the commencement of the construction work for the people without any delay. Udwak Etam, NTA News.
Nasarawa State Government has earmarked over 1.5 billion naira for the reconstruction of all collapsed bridges and culverts in rural communities across the state. Governor Umaru Tanko Almakura says this is to address the deplorable state of rural roads and make them accessible. Joshua Ojitu has details.
Over 661 box culverts and bridges across rural communities in Nasarawa State have been listed for rehabilitation as part of the state government's drive to develop rural areas and improve lives of rural dwellers. Work has commenced in most communities, and the rehabilitations are expected to be completed before the onset of the rainy season. Governor Umaru Tanko Almakura restated the commitment of his administration to provide infrastructure for rural areas in the state so as to reduce rural-urban migration.
This year, the emphasis of my administration will be 100% given to rural areas, at least for once. Let the ordinary man living in the village have a cause to have a relief that there is a government that is thinking on his behalf.
In Lafia, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
You're watching NTA Nationwide. Lawyers boycott court, lock out Chief Justice in Osun State. This and more as we join Kemi in Ibadan. Over to you, Kemi.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and a warm welcome to Ibadan. Lawyers in Osun State have locked up court premises in the state and denied the chief judge and other judicial officers entries to the facilities. Correspondent Adeni Tayo says the lawyers are protesting increase in all fees paid before and during judicial proceedings.
That was the Osun State Chief Judge, Honorable Justice Olubela Adekunlejo, at the entrance of the State High Court to Osogbo, where she was prevented from gaining access to her office by angry lawyers who took over the premises to enforce their ongoing boycott of court proceedings. This followed a standoff between them and the state government after a meeting on Wednesday to address the crisis which arose over hike in the cost of filing court processes. We are also at the customary court of appeal to prevent filing of processes in the court.
Let us put the implementation of the new filing regime on hold so that we sit down together and fashion out the way forward.
Chief Registrar of the State Judiciary, Lawrence Arojo, enjoined the protesting lawyers to abide by the resolution of the peace meeting.
If you think that what the government has done is outrageous or a little bit abnormal, as you are saying, go and give the government a proposal of what you think should be appropriate fees chargeable in the courts. So that when you now bring your papers, government will now lay your paper side by side with its own.
Meanwhile, the NBA has filed a suit against the state government and the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, SAN, at the Federal High Court in Osogbo over the hike in cost, which also affected filing fees for divorce said to be under federal jurisdiction.
Before you get out of a matrimonial proceedings, paying from beginning to the end all receipted fees, you'd have paid 47,000 naira. And that is not what is in the MCR, the Matrimonial Causes Rules, which is a federal legislation.
With this standoff, all cases and awaiting trial cases remain pending in court. In Osogbo, Adeni Tayo, NTA News.
Ogun State Police Command has paraded some crime suspects allegedly terrorizing different parts of the state. Hakim Jimo has details.
Briefing journalists shortly before the parade on the activities of the command since January this year, CP Ilyasu stated that the suspects had terrorized various parts of the state before luck eventually ran out on them. The Commissioner of Police said that some of the suspects were caught while trying to commit crimes such as snatching of vehicles and motorcycles, trans-border armed robbery, impersonation, diversion of petroleum products and other goods, as well as macheting of rival groups during a traditional festival in Abuja.
Taking the fight now to their den, we have tactical and covert deployments everywhere. We're ensuring that the citizens of this state and other people who are using this state for any other activity that of their safety and security.
According to the CP, the war against the menace of courtesan, kidnapping, armed robbery, and other criminal activities in the state was paying off with the arrest of the suspected criminals. The police boss, however, assured the citizens of their safety, calling for renewed cooperation with the command through prompt dissemination of information for prompt response. In Abuja, Hakim Jimo, NTA News.
Following the raid on a warehouse where over 9,000 bags of rice were impounded in Ibadan, Oyoshu Custom Area Controller Tolulopo Ogukwa says the raid was necessary and the action was backed by law. Correspondent Shola Wahid has the reports.
The anti-smuggling team of the Oyo-Oshu Command of the Nigerian Customs Service in a night raid seized over 9,000 bags of rice in Ibadan. The controller, Tope Ogukwa, explained that the raid was carried out in conjunction with the Federal Operation Unit, Zone A, adding that Customs and Excess Management Act 1990 backs that action of the command.
Without prejudice to any other powers conferred by this act, things are made so far as it is reasonably necessary for the purpose of such entry, search, seizures, and detention or removal. Don't open any door, window, or container and force and remove any other impediments or obstructions.
Some legal practitioners have reacted to the action of the customs.
When you begin to interpret in this section they are quoting, they are doing it to favor themselves. On reasonable ground, you break into my house. On reasonable ground. What ground? You must tell me if there is any wrong. The appropriate thing to do is to charge the person to court. If the court finds the person guilty, the court can order that the property should be confiscated.
They should check before they embark on importation of any goods and ensure that it's within the precinct of the goods that they can bring in. And any duty that they are supposed to pay, they pay the exact duty. They should not do shortcut.
In Ibadan, Shola Wahid, NTA News.
About 400 farmers have been trained and given equipment to enhance their practice and complement the policy of the federal government to diversify the economy into agriculture. Benefactor of the empowerment program, Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Lasun Yusuf, enjoined the farmers to utilize their new skills and equipment judiciously. Tope Alabi has the report.
The benefiting farmers, drawn from Irekodun, Olorunda, Orulu-Osogbo Federal Constituency, include 100 fish farmers, 200 prospective plantain farmers, and 50 mushroom farmers. Each of the participants, apart from being trained, were given required equipment and funds to start a Greek business.
Training, in natural sense, must have human face, human heart, and the make of kindness.
Describing the program as part of his resolve as a farmer to also use his position to boost agriculture sector, Lasun Yusuf said government alone cannot employ the teeming unemployed, hence the need to revamp agriculture as alternative source of gainful employment.
The only way you can stimulate the economy is to invest heavily in the productive sector of the economy, and one of the most important productive sector of the economy is agriculture.
The Deputy Speaker had in January commissioned the distribution of tractors to farmers in the state to practically enhance large-scale farming that will result to mass food production. In Osogbo, Tope Alabi, NTA News.
And that's our contribution from Ibadan. It's back to Abuja for the continuation of Nationwide.
Thank you, Kemi. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo has approved the redeployment of 2 permanent secretaries. They are Dr. Shehu Ahmed from Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development to Ministry of Environment, and Dr. Bukar Hassan from Ministry of Environment to Agriculture and Rural Development. A statement from the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation indicates that Mrs. Winifred Oyo-Ital directed that all processes of handing and taking over should be completed on or before Friday next week. Advancing the nation's economy through nuclear energy development is a sure way to rapid industrial growth. Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, stated this when he received a team of the International Atomic Energy Agency in his office. Abdullahi Suleiman Iyaji reports.
The International Atomic Energy Agency is the world center for cooperation in the nuclear field and seeks to promote the safe, secure, and peaceful use of nuclear technologies. Last year, Director General of the agency pledged support for Nigeria's plan to have its first nuclear power reactor in 2025, and therefore representatives of the agency met with officials of the Ministry of Science and Technology to fine-tune strategies towards successful nuclear energy use in Nigeria.
We believe that this is what will help us to build a knowledge-based economy and develop human capital that will be needed, not just in the area of research, utilizing atomic energy, but also in energy itself.
So I would want to assure Nigerians that the nuclear techniques and technology we use in the country are in a way that will benefit the country and do not pose any type of hazard to the country.
Other areas of mutual interest include development of competency in nuclear application for medical discoveries and reduction in nuclear emissions. In Abuja, Abdullahi Suleiman Iyaji, NTA News.
3 suicide bombers killed in Maiduguri following an early morning attack. We now join Mohammed in Maiduguri for this and other stories from that zone. It's over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good to have you join us in Maiduguri. Borno State Deputy Governor Usman Mamman has called on all contractors handling the construction of institutions and infrastructural facilities in rural areas of the state to adhere to specifications strictly. Usman Mamman stated this when he inspected project sites to assess the level of work towards resettling internally displaced back to their communities. Memuna Garba has the details.
Borno state government that took the lead in the reconstruction of the destroyed communities has been working round the clock to ensure all the projects are completed within the stipulated period, so the resettlement of the internally displaced back to their localities on 29th May this year. While on an inspection visit to villages in Kaga local government area of the state, the Deputy Governor Usman Mamandukwa, however, expressed dissatisfaction with the slow pace of some projects and directed the contractors handling them to speed up the completion of such projects. During the inspection of newly constructed schools in Kaga local government area, the Deputy Governor warned against the execution of substandard projects, adding that mistakes identified must be corrected to complete the projects on time. Other projects inspected by Usman Durkwa include General Hospital Benishek and construction of boreholes in Mainok town in Maiduguri. Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
People's Democratic Party stakeholders in Borno have reaffirmed their absolute solidarity to the national chairman of the party, Senator Alimodi Sharif. They made their feelings known during his visit to Maiduguri. Yagum Subukar has the report.
The stakeholders who came in their hundreds to welcome the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party to Borno during his visit to Maiduguri following the Court of Appeals verdict declaring Senator Alimodi Sharif as the substantive national chairman of the PDP. Congratulating Senator Alimodi Sharif over his victory, Borno State PDP Chairman Shetima Shehu said it will not have come at a better time than now, taking into account some pressing issues confronting the party, and promised to rally round the national chairman. PDP National Chairman Senator Alimodi Sharif promised to reposition the party to move to greater heights.
Ever since the pronouncement of the Court of Appeal that my ESCO is the authentic one, I've been making wide consultation, and I've been appealing to everybody so that we can come together as one united family.
He called on party loyalists to be united and remain focused for the success of the party. Special prayers were offered for the quick recovery of President Muhammadu Buhari and restoration of peace to Borno and the country in general. In Maiduguri, Yagum Subukar, NTA News.
3 suicide bombers intercepted by civilian JTF in the early hours of Friday in Maiduguri following the detonation of the IEDs all died, leaving in their trail 3 destroyed petroleum tankers with no casualty. Haman Jabani reports.
The 3 suicide bombers intercepted by civilian JTF along Damboa Road near NNPC depot in Maiduguri metropolis hit under 3 parked petroleum tankers close to an independent marketer filling station where the civilian JTF were encouraging and pleading with them to come out for their IEDs to be detonated. It was then that the explosion came one after the other, destroying all the 3 suicide bombers into pieces. No any other life was lost. According to eyewitness accounts, 2 of the parked tankers were empty. It was the only one with fuel that caught fire, destroying the 3 tankers, including a small car parked close by.
And I'm telling you, this is about the 8th suicide bombing that is being recorded, and we didn't record any civilian casualties.
The presence of men of Borno State Fire Service at the scene lessened the destruction from escalating to other areas around. The police commissioner called for extra vigilance. In Maiduguri, Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
That's our contribution from Maiduguri. Nationwide continues with Elizabeth in Abuja.
Thank you, Mohammed. Talking sports now, CAF presidential candidate Ahmed vows to bring lasting change on the continent as world number 2 Novak Djokovic crashes out of the Mexico Open. Kene Mabudike brings us details on Sports Update.